Welcome everyone to a new series where I'm going to begin introducing you to some of the incredible work that has been created for Mount and Blade Bannerlord. In the process, I'm going to answer some questions that I know the answers to. I also have timestamps to all the appropriate sections to make the viewing experience easier for you too. I'll also have every link the modding team share publicly to their Patreon, ModDB pages, Discord servers, and whatever else, so make sure that you do check them out. And again, make sure to emphatically show your support for what so many are doing out of passion alone. And also a big shout out to Casaro, who has been an awesome guy to get to know and has done great work with the team here. While there are many projects in development, here's the one that I'm extremely invested in for so many obvious reasons: Mount and Blade 2: The Old World. What I'm about to show you are models and images of scenes that in time you'll be able to experience in Bannerlord. The first focus is going to be on the Empire and the Vampire Counts, both stylistic age-old foes, but we're going to see some other surprises here as well. In our first shot here, we've got an image of a graveguard created by the very talented Tom Shaw, whose work you've probably seen in Total War Warhammer 2. You can see the ornate armor, decayed cloth, and even the glowing eyes of a skeleton underneath it all. Imagine now seeing hundreds of these skeletons marching towards you with bows, swords, spears, and shields. I have to imagine you'll be fighting on the back foot and outnumbered more often than not. Graveguards are held together by evil magic. It's kind of like a foul type of duct tape, and they form the elite core of any vampire or necromancer's army. As a unit in Bannerlord, you can expect these guys to be dangerous to face and able to withstand a lot of damage before being taken down. Heck, I thought about how dangerous it's going to be to fight an enemy that doesn't have the capacity to break from a morale drop. Even as I transition over to this picture of Krell, I'm always thinking of that one line by Heinrich Himmler: "Where is Krell?" Well, he's right here. Here's a model made by Squigs, another artist on the team. I'd like to tell you that these are models for a mod, not an official game. However, if you told me these were for an upcoming Warhammer Fantasy game, I would believe you without hesitation. If you don't know who Krell is, he's a scary White King or White Lord, human warlords that occupied the lands before the founding of the Empire, but Krell in particular was a Chaos champion, older than Sigmar himself, and the ruler of a barbarian tribe that worshipped corn. I wonder if he's going to be a hero you can recruit as a companion, or an individual lord on his own. Either way, he's got to be a monstrosity in warfare, and I would not want to fight him early on. That wouldn't end well for you. Then you have another piece of work by Tom Shaw, a vampire lord. Vampires in Warhammer Fantasy are pretty terrifying. A vampire lord is 10 times scarier than that, and I'll have to imagine these guys are going to be able to take down a lot of good men of Sigmar before you can finally put them into the grave once again. I have to wonder how the loss of a vampire lord would impact an ongoing battle for the undead on one side. What do you think? And of course, you can't have a vampire lord without a vampire sword. This awesome model has been made by Casaro, and I love how profane the weapon looks. I mean, if I saw that on someone's mantle, I might have to leave. And of course, you've got many other variations too. That isn't really the end of it. I mean, here's a vampire greatsword with many other models. I was really shocked about how many models there are for weapons. If you're really worried about weapon variety, don't be. You've come to the wrong mod for that type of fear. You're gonna have every type of weapon that you can imagine, whether you're a dwarf, human, vampire, or whatever else. I did want to throw in real quick some concept artwork they had done too. I collect a lot of tabletop RPG books, and I even own several rare art books for Warhammer Fantasy art. Everything I've seen here has a home in those pages. Again, I can't believe it's all work done for a mod. Not a game, but a mod. It's put many games to shame that have the title Warhammer in it. Now for a model of a ghoul head. Essentially me without my coffee. This is one individual unit's design, and I can't believe how detailed that it is. I'm very excited to see these creepy guys skulking about. For some backstory behind where they came from, they are degenerate descendants of humans who were reduced down into cannibalistic ghouls from the consumption of raw or decaying flesh. I do suppose they're good to have around if you need to clean up a battlefield quickly. Yuck. Now with any models, you need proper scenery and environments. A feeling of despair and disrepair is required for the lands of Sylvania, where the evil foe of the Empire dwells. Here's a Sylvanian village by Ninian. Hopefully I got your name right, correct me if I am wrong. And of course some environmental scenes where you're going to be dealing with some hard-fought battles. You really cannot have Warhammer Fantasy without a feeling of gloom, especially in the Empire. Things are rough here. Things are not going to be easy. You're off to go cut some wood? Well, there's Boney Ben coming to whisk you away to join the undead army. Here's a series of shots of Leichberg, which is a small town that lives in constant fear of Sylvania to the east. The local count welcomes witch and vampire hunters to his court and is a fervent devotee of Mor, the god of the dead, a proper antithesis to the vampire counts who do not believe in a peaceful afterlife. And where there's enemies, there's a need for walls. We have an Imperial fort which looks imposing enough to tank. I think the siege battles would all be much more exciting with the technology of the current setting that we have here. We're talking about cannons, Hellblaster volley guns, and much more that can help you topple any type of siege event. While I haven't tried out the mod personally just yet, they did share some awesome shots of a battle between Stirland and the Sylvanian vampire counts. What I love about Warhammer Fantasy and why the Empire is one of my favorite factions is the pageantry and individuality of each province. Stirland is adjacent to Sylvania, and so their needs and priorities differ to those that someone in Reichland might have. I'm excited to see how many weapons, symbols, and bits of armor that have already made it in, which means that we have much more to go and a lot more to see that's going to impress us. Not to disparage other games, but an Empire faction without proper formations to fight against their inhuman foes feels just lacking to me. I want to be able to tell my halberds to resist a charge by undead knights, and to fight against near impossible odds. Imagine there, you've got all of your halberds at a bridge and the undead are beginning to flock towards you. They'll be able to maintain their position and beat them back. Not to mention being able to form up your own squad of greatswords, elite soldiers who can sweep into battle with you and hack apart your enemies. With all these fantastic images, I hope you have some serious confidence in what's going to be coming our way. The projects are out there for many different settings, but out of what I've seen so far, this here has been in the upper tier of quality and organization. But wait, there is more. We have the King of Bretonnia, and check out the detail in his armor alone. Now that's a guy who enjoys some wine, cheese, and the suffering of peasants underneath the buckling demands of his nobility. And there's also a few Bretonnian helmets, shields, and weapons too. Since you can't have awesome Grell Knights without some trained men-at-arms or smelly peasants to soak up the damage before you, that way you can swoop in and say, hey, look at me, the goddess blesses me, and I'm okay. And for a final shot of a Warrior Priest's hammer. Listen, I played a Warrior Priest in Warhammer Online. I'm predisposed to loving Warrior Priests and everything they're about. It feels like in nearly every cinematic I see them in, they're getting trounced. I think when I play the Empire, I'm going to be one myself, or at least my right-hand man is going to be a Warrior Priest. If you've seen me also play some games too, you know that hammers are my favorite weapons. I like to smash. Now for some Imperial concept art, starting with an Imperial General. I like the variation in helmet design and again, all the ornaments that make them feel like a walking piece of Imperial propaganda. There's two variations here, so we'll see more individuality among the leaders than what you often see from vanilla Bannerlord lords. To tie back into my love for Warrior Priests, you have the right amount of cloth and plate to ensure that you're smiting in the name of Sigmar in style. And here's some Flagellants, crazy people who have been broken by the times they endure and have dedicated the rest of their days to fighting for Sigmar. They're going to provide a very stark contrast for what's coming next. The Imperial State Trooper, a trained regimented bunch who will form up the backbone of your army, and like the Empire should have, they have tons of options for hats, caps, helmets, and everything else under the sun too. Now I promise we have one more shot, one of a Chaos Warrior. I'm really excited to see the models for these units. I do believe the legend of some fighters in boxing and MMA is defined by their rivals. The Empire wouldn't be my favorite if not for the enemies they've got to face, like the Men of the North. Not to mention, the type of progression that you would see from a Norseman, a simple marauder turning into a Chaos Warrior, does seem to make a lot of sense with how upgrades work or promotions work in Bannerlord, and I think that'll be very cool to raise up a bunch of Norse tribesmen and turn them into a bunch of hard-fighting Chaos Warriors in time. Now, as a last call to arms for any of you with modding skills, they are looking for sound engineers, artists, 3D artists, sceners, and coders too. Make sure to head on over to their Discord server to apply. I would like to thank the team for giving me permission to cover their mod. Also, if you did enjoy this overview, let me know down below. I'll make it a habitual series where I dive into mods for the first time or even cover their major updates too. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful time. Hey, don't forget whenever you sub to click that little bell and enable all notifications or YouTube won't send you everything. By the way, I do stream weekly, do check out my Twitch channel right down below. And a huge thank you to all of my patrons who have been supporting my channel. By the way, these are custom songs I've had commissioned for the channel. More to come in time if you enjoy it.